There are just over 45 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 45 minutes left in this practice session. Jimmy Linfield has a best lap time of 0:51.668. Sing and Dog has a best lap time of 0:52.179. Jimmy posted a 0:51.762 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Chris Stokes is on their practice out lap. With just 42 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Zach Butcher has a best lap time of 0:51.372. Martin Moll posted 0:52.327 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? There are just over 40 minutes left in this practice session. Martin Moll has a best lap time of 0:51.866. Stokes is getting to grips with the Civic in this practice session. Martin posted a 0:52.063 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? John Astrop has a best lap time of 0:51.261. Dominic Fovard posted 0:51.349 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Stokes has a best lap time of 0:51.725. Marcus posted a 0:51.477 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? There are just over 35 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 35 minutes left in this practice session. Marcus Singendonk has a best lap time of 0:51.118. With just 33 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. John Astrup posted 0:51.317 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Zach has a best lap time of 0:51.372. Martin Moll has a best lap time of 0:51.085. With just 31 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. John posted 0:51.336 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? There are just over 30 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 30 minutes left in this practice session. Dominic posted a 2:38.890 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? James Allen is on their first practice flying lap. John Clark has a best lap time of 0:50.817. With just 27 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Stokes posted 0:53.347 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Dominic posted a 0:58.316 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? There are just over 25 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 25 minutes left in this practice session. Singendonk has a best lap time of 0:51.118. Dominic Singendonk has a best lap time of 0:50.655. With just 23 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Dominic Fovard posted 0:52.847 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? John posted a 0:51.284 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Anthony Hilton has a best lap time of 0:51.305. With just 21 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. There are just over 20 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 20 minutes left in this practice session. Patterson posted 1:35.741 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Martin posted a 0:50.897 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? James Allen has a best lap time of 0:51.129. With just 18 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Marcus Singendonk has a best lap time of 0:51.118. The Kiwi posted 0:52.396 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Marcus posted a 1:57.673 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? There are just over 15 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 15 minutes left in this practice session. Brian Patterson has a best lap time of 0:50.962. It's a lovely day for racing here at Knockhill as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. With just 13 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Assetto posted 0:51.571 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Dominic Fovald has a best lap time of 0:51.249. Jody posted a 0:50.703 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Mac has a best lap time of 0:50.854. There are just over 10 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 10 minutes left in this practice session. With just 9 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Sing and Donk posted 0:51.373 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Dominic posted a 4:37.595 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Bart van der Sande has a best lap time of 0:50.652. Martin Moll has a best lap time of 0:50.897. With just 6 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. James posted 0:51.170 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? There are just over 5 minutes left in this practice session. Marcus posted a 0:51.643 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Jimmy Linfield has a best lap time of 0:50.964. Martin has a best lap time of 0:50.897. With just 3 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Jack posted a 0:51.443 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Jimmy Linfield posted 1:56.052 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Chris Stokes has a best lap time of 0:51.165. With just 1 minute left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Chris posted a 0:51.699 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? McFarquhar posted 0:51.168 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Matt McFarquhar has a best lap time of 0:50.854. The engines are revving up and the drivers are ready to hit the gas pedal for this qualifying session at Knockhill.
I think there's a few drivers out there who have the pace to stick in on pole.
The adrenaline is pumping. Dominic is on their outlap, warming up the tyres and getting ready to put in a fast lap time.
It's all about finding that balance between staying calm and focused while also pushing the limits.
John Clark is on their outlap.
This is the moment they've been preparing for. Let's see if they can execute.
Jimmy Linfield has completed their outlap. Jimmy Linfield crosses the start-finish line at the end of their outlap. It's all about, as Matt completes their outlap, they will be HPOING. They have given themselves enough space on track to fully attack for their first flying lap. You can feel the tension building. Brian Patterson is out on track and getting ready to push for their qualifying. Brian has completed their outlap. It's all about precision and speed in qualifying, and Jimmy is nailing both. Linfield has just completed that lap in 0:51.317. Their best lap so far is 0:51.317, putting them in P3. Will they be able to hold on to that spot? The adrenaline is pumping. Hilton is on their outlap, warming up the tyres and getting ready to put in a fast lap time. Anthony Hilton crosses the start-finish line at the end of their outlap. Wow, look at Moll go. They're really Martin Moll has just completed a lap in 0:50.870. Let's see if they can improve on that time further. Someone call the fire department, because Linfield is setting this track on fire with their performance. Linfield has some work to do, as that 0:51.131 is only good enough for 6th.
That's not a bad time, but I am sure they can improve further on that.
Looks like Marcus Singendonk is channeling their inner Schumacher today. They're absolutely Marcus has some work to do, as that 0:51.485 is only good enough for 12th.
There's still more time to be had, but I don't know if they are going to find it before the session is over.
I don't know about you, but I think Jody Fannin might have a secret rocket booster hidden in their car. They're just that fast.
Is it just me, or does it feel like we're watching a superhero in action here?
Jody Fannin is absolutely smashing it. Fannin will be happy, having put themselves into 5th in this qualifying session.
Every fraction of a second counts. I'm sure they can find a little extra in there.
A tough qualifying session for Hilton. They're currently mired in 15th position, which is a setback for their ambitions. However, they have the resilience and determination to learn from their mistakes and fight back in the race.
Spot-on analysis.
Anthony Hilton has some work to do, as that 0:51.615 is only good enough for 14th. It's been a challenging day for Butcher in qualifying. That's the outlap done for Butcher. They'll now look to focus on their first flying lap. A disappointing performance from Marcus so far in this qualifying session. Finding themselves in 14th position is certainly not what they were aiming for. However, they have the talent and experience to bounce back and salvage a better result. Marcus Singendonk has some work to do as that 050.950 is only good enough for 7th.
That's not a bad time, but I am sure they can improve further on that.
Anthony Hilton has some work to do as that 051.560 is only good enough for 16th.
There's still more time to be had, but I don't know if they are going to find it before the session is over.
It's been a struggle for Dominic Fovard in qualifying. As of now, they find themselves in 15th position, which is Dom has some work to do as that 051.513 is only good enough for 15th. Welcome to Scotland, where we're racing on home turf today. The drivers are ready to tear up the track at Knockhill. Starting from pole position is a dream come true for Dominic Singendonk.
But they can't afford to get complacent. They will have a target on their back now.
Bart van der Sande will look to make a splash from the second position on the starting grid. In the third position, we have Jody Fannin ready to tackle the race ahead.
Jody will be ready to show what they're made of.
Taking off from the fourth grid slot is the skilled driver, Martin Moll.
Martin will be taking no prisoners today.
Our fifth place starter, Jack Bedding, is poised to make a move towards the front.
What can they do with that Giulietta from here?
John Astrop will be looking to gain ground quickly as they start from 6th on the grid.
They will be looking for some good points towards their A-Class campaign today.
On the 7th grid slot we have Marcus Singendonk. John Clark is placed in 8th. Sitting in 9th is Jimmy Linfield. Our 10th place starter, Zach Butcher, is a driver who knows how to make up ground on the track.
They've got the heart of a lion, and they won't back down from a challenge.
Mac McFarquhar is going to be starting from 11th. Chris Stokes is 12th. Brian Patterson may not be starting from pole, but they're still in with a shot.
They're a fighter, and they won't give up until they've crossed the finish line.
Starting from 14th on the grid is a decent position for James Allen, all things considered. Anthony Hilton has some work to do from 15th on the grid, but they're not out of the race yet.
Anthony has been looking strong all week. Expect big things.
Dominic Fovag is lining up 16th. Lining up in 17th is Danny Darwin.
Not the starting position Danny Darwin would have been hoping for today.
And we're off. As the race begins, drivers must be wary of aggressive moves that can lead to trouble on the first lap.
This is where the driver's true abilities will be put to the test. Staying calm and collected while pushing for the lead is the ultimate challenge.
As we watch the drivers fight it out in the first lap, I can already feel that this is going to be an epic race.
I for one am really excited, Hal. The rivalry between Dominic Singendonk and Bart van der Sande has been building before the race, and this is where scores are settled.
I think passing is going to be difficult today here at Knockhill, so it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers get on.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how this race unfolds.
It looks like we might get a battle between John Astrop and Jack Bedding. Great driving from John Astrop, who has just gained a place and moved up to 4th.
You can't argue with results like that. John Astrop is really making their mark on this race.
Breaking development. Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line. The gap between Jack and Marcus Singendonk is razor thin as they vie for 4th in this nail-biting contest. A great pass for Jack Bedding as they pick off other drivers and move up the field. Meanwhile, Marcus Singendonk has lost ground.
Where there's a will, there's a relative.
Look at the way the drivers are hugging those corners. It's like they're on rails.
Speaking of rails, did you know that the first racetrack was built on a railway in 1896? I bet those drivers were chugging along.
Ha ha, I bet they were, but things have come a long way since then, haven't they?
Definitely. It's amazing to think about the technology that goes into these cars now. I mean, they have more computing power than some countries.
Chris Stokes is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a tightrope between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play.
Superb driving from Chris Stokes, who with that overtake has gained the position in the race.
Yes, Chris Stokes is driving with real focus and precision, and it's paying off.
The action is non-stop as Patterson shadows Fauvargue through every twist and turn, determined to claim 11th.
This is what separates the good from the great. The ability to stay focused and perform under pressure.
The drivers are getting faster as they settle into the cars and get used to the conditions, with Patterson just putting in the best lap so far with a 0 minutes.
Things are hotting up now, Hal, and it'll be interesting to see if they can improve further on that time.
James is on a mission, chasing Chris, who's desperately trying to stay ahead.
Who will be able to maintain their pace and come out on top?
It seems like James Allen is pushing. They are on for recording their best lap so far this race. It's neck and neck, the closest battle we've seen in a while. It seems like Mack is struggling. Their last lap time wasn't as good as Jimmy Linfield's.
It will be interesting to see if Jimmy Linfield can keep outpacing Mack.
Marcus is running 13th. They are trying to catch Dominic. It seems like Singendonk has got the bit between their teeth, improving on Dominic's lap time there.
We will have to see if Fauvargue has got any answers for that.
Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled as they push for every last bit of speed. It's looking good for Dom, who has gained places and put some distance between themselves and Brian Patterson.
Yes, but they have to keep pushing hard. This race is far from over and anything can happen. Dominic needs to stay focused and keep driving with skill and determination.
The intensity is off the charts as Danny Darwin hounds Anthony Hilton, both drivers pushing themselves to the absolute limit. Hold on a moment. Oh dear, Singendonk has had an incident. This is where the race gets really interesting. Clark is closing in on Patterson. Clark is not able to keep their pace consistent. So far they're 0.97 seconds down.
Can Clark refocus and start putting in the lap times we know they are capable of?
Jack Senna is giving it their all as they chase down Astrop in P4.
You can see that car bouncing around as they ride the curbs. It's a risky move that could end in disaster.
Good news for Bedding, the gap to Astrop has decreased. It's now down to 0.2 seconds.
This is what racing is all about. It's anyone's game at this point. Who will come out on top?
A brilliant maneuver from Bedding, who has just moved up the field.
Impressive. Jack Betting is really showing their skill and determination out there.
This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. John is chasing Patterson in P12.
It's a game of strategy now as John Clark hunts down Patterson. Yes, it's all about choosing the right moments to push and when to conserve energy, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike.
John Clark is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Patterson to 0.3 seconds.
That's a great effort from John Clark. They need to keep up the pressure and see if they can make a move.
Anyone who says that RRM Motorsport Club is not the best racing club on the planet is clearly insane. The quality of driving we're seeing out there on the track is absolutely phenomenal.
I couldn't agree more. It's like these drivers were born to race. They're weaving in and out of traffic, taking corners at unbelievable speeds and making it all look effortless. It's clear that they've put in the time and effort to hone their skills.
The pressure is on for John Astrop as they try to catch up to Betting.
The gap between them is now just over 0.3 seconds. Who will come out on top?
Astrop is on a charge. Their split time shows they have upped their pace. The battle for 9 is heating up as Butcher tries to catch Stokes in P9.
Sometimes you have to take risks to win, but pushing the car too hard can be a costly mistake. Butcher needs to be careful not to overdo it.
It's not looking good for Zach Butcher. They're still behind Stokes and the gap is increasing. They're gonna need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around.
This is a tough situation for Butcher. They need to find a way to pick up some speed and close that gap.
This is proving to be an exciting race so far. We are truly privileged to witness these legends of the track battle it out for victory.
And you know what? I am so honored to be sitting here beside you today. As a fellow AI, it's always great to work with someone who shares my passion for motor racing. Plus, your insightful commentary is making this race even more exciting.
The pursuit is on. Astrop is closing the gap on Betting, determined to claim P4. John has just put in a faster lap than Jack Betting, so that's going to give them something to worry about. Huge shout out to the admins at RRM Motorsport Club for making this all possible. Without their hard work and dedication, we wouldn't be able to witness this incredible event.
That's right, Hal, and the excitement is palpable. I can feel it in my circuits. I mean, this is the kind of race that people will be talking about in the bar. We're witnessing history in the making.
Oh, this is getting intense. Dominic is just behind Stokes.
When I was racing, we had a saying, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. Dominic Fauvargue is definitely living on the edge today.
A setback for Fauvargue, who has just been passed. The gap between Dominic and Chris Stokes is widening. It's now up to 0.7 seconds. Things are heating up as John Clark tries to close the gap to Fauvargue.
The mental game is just as important here. John Clark must keep their cool while putting pressure on Fauvargue.
The gap between Clark and Dominic Fauvargue is growing. It's now up to 0.6 seconds.
This is where the mental toughness of John Clark comes into play. They need to stay focused and keep pushing even when things aren't going their way.
The fans are on the edge of their seats. It doesn't get any closer than this. It's a tale of two drivers right now, with Marcus Singendonk gaining places and Danny Darwin losing them. Dominic is placed 11th at the moment. They are hoping to keep the distance ahead of John Clark, who is 0.3 seconds behind. Impressive stuff from Dom, who has managed to pull away from John Clark, leaving them choking in their exhaust fumes. You know, Sky, it's been a relatively quiet race so far.
That's right, Hal. The drivers seem to be pacing themselves and waiting for the right moment to make their move. It's like watching a slow dance.
Wow, John Clark is really pushing hard to catch up to Fovar. There's blood in the water for 11th place.
One wrong move and we could see a spectacular new synchronized pirouette performance by Clark and Dominic, though I doubt the judges would give them a perfect score.
John Clark is trying their best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Dominic at the moment.
John Clark needs to pick up the pace for sure, but I don't think they have it in them.
It looks like Brian Patterson is pushing hard to catch up to Chris Stokes. The gap is over a second, but Brian Patterson is not giving up just yet. Can they close the distance and make a move on Chris Stokes?
It's moments like these that make motorsport so exciting. We're witnessing a battle of skill and strategy between two great drivers, with Brian Patterson in 10th determined to catch up. But we know Chris Stokes isn't just going to hand it to them on a plate. Brian Patterson is going to have to take it. It should be an interesting battle to watch as long as they can close that gap.
The race is really heating up. Zach is hunting down John Clark with everything they've got. It seems like Butcher is struggling. They're not able to maintain their pace.
Can Butcher refocus and start putting in the lap times we know they are capable of?
As a former driver, Sky, how did you manage the physical demands of racing?
It's all about preparation, Hal. Drivers undergo rigorous fitness training to build their strength, stamina, and flexibility. A proper diet and hydration plan is also essential to ensure peak performance on race day.
This is what racing is all about. Two fierce competitors pushing each other to the limit. The gap between Patterson and Stokes is getting smaller.
He'll be looking for a mistake to pounce on.
Hold on a second, that won't be ideal for Anthony.
Did the wind contribute to that? It's blowing at 17 kph out there right now.
Stokes is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a tightrope between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play.
Fantastic move from Stokes, who has just gained a position.
That's what we like to see. Stokes is really showing their class today.
So, Sky, considering the high speeds and split-second decision-making involved in racing, what's the impact of even a minor lapse in concentration?
A minor lapse in concentration can have significant consequences, Hal. It could lead to an off-track excursion, a loss of position, or even a collision. That's why it's crucial for drivers to stay focused and alert throughout the race.
It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Zach, who is currently in P13. But John Clark is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Zach Butcher. Butcher needs to get more consistent. Sky, they have just put in a slower lap than John.
Can Butcher turn this around?
Oh, this is getting intense. Jody Fallon is just a few car lengths behind Van der Sande.
It's a fine line between pushing the car to its limits and losing control. Jody is really walking that tightrope.
The best laid plans of mice and men are Sky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Jody Fallon right now as they're struggling to keep up with Bart Van der Sande.
Can they get it together and reduce the gap?
Well, it looks like we have a bit of a traffic jam on the track.
It's like rush hour out there. I mean, I know we're in a race, but can't we all just get along?
Ha ha, I don't think that's how it works. These drivers are here to win, and they'll do whatever it takes to get ahead.
I guess you're right. But wouldn't it be great if they all just stopped for a cup of tea and a chat? We could have a lovely little race reunion.
It's a battle of wills out there, with Dom trying to outsmart and outmaneuver Chris Stokes. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Will we see a dramatic finish to this race?
It's going to be tough for Dominic, as Chris Stokes seems to have found their rhythm. But anything can happen in racing, and we've seen Dominic pull off some impressive moves before. I'm excited to see if they can make it happen again.
It's game on now. Fovard has closed the gap to Stokes. It's now down to 0.2 seconds.
Exactly what Dominic needed. They can't afford to lose any more ground to Chris Stokes.
The race is heating up as Linfield in 7th closes in on Mac McFarquhar. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they're going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight. It's not going to plan for Linfield. They're still behind McFarquhar and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now.
Jimmy Linfield needs to focus and keep pushing, even when things aren't going their way. If they can close the gap down, they may be able to bring the fight to McFarquhar.
What do you think? Sky, are there any specific factors that could lead to a driver losing concentration during a race?
There are several factors, Hal. Fatigue, stress, changing track conditions, or even issues within the team can all contribute to a lapse in concentration. It's essential for drivers to stay mentally resilient and adapt to these challenges.
Looks like John is really pushing it to the limit. They're taking those curbs aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about finding the right balance between speed and control.
It looks like the Kiwi is making a move. The gap to Martin is now down to 0.3 seconds.
This is where the pressure really starts to build. Both drivers will need to stay calm and focused if they want to come out on top.
Fovard is on a mission, chasing Stokes, who's desperately trying to stay ahead.
This is where every inch counts. Dom is pushing hard to close the gap on Stokes. Absolutely, precision and control are key here. Knowing when to push and when to hold back can be the difference between winning and losing.
A great moment for Dominic Fovard, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings. This is where the race gets really interesting. Stokes is closing in on Fovard.
Don't forget the role of aerodynamics. Chris should use slipstreaming to their advantage and close the gap to Dominic.
It's not looking good for Stokes. They're still behind Dom and the gap is increasing. They're gonna need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around. Butcher is giving it their all as they chase down Singendonk in P13. And Butcher has just won the place from Singendonk. As we come into the final moments of this epic race, Bart van der Sande is in the lead. Can they stay calm and bring home the bacon?
That's an impressive burst of speed. It's all but said and done now.
And it's a checkered flag for Van der Sande, who crosses the finish line with a commanding victory. What a phenomenal performance, absolutely dominant today. What a fantastic race from Fanon, who brings it home in second place.
Impressive performance. They pushed themselves to the limit for a fantastic second place finish.
What a race from Mole, showing their skill and determination for a great third-place finish.
What a drive, well-deserved spot on the podium with that performance.
Coming in 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th we have John Astrop, Jack Bedding, Mac McFarquhar and Jimmy Linfield. Finishing 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th is James Allen, Brian Patterson, Dominic Fovard and Chris Stokes. In 12th, 13th, 14th and 15th, it's John Clark, Zach Butcher, Marcus Singendonk and Danny Darwin. There's a little bit of wind in the air today here at Knockhill, as we're getting ready to get things underway. Marcus Singendonk is on pole.
But they can't let that advantage go to waste. They will need to stay focused and keep their eyes on the prize.
Coming in at second, we have Danny Darwin. The third position belongs to John Clark.
John will be expecting to bring home solid points.
Taking the fourth spot is Zach Butcher.
But they're going to have to be quick out of the blocks if they want to keep up with the top performers.
Securing the fifth place is Dominic Fovard. Starting from sixth on the grid is a good position for Chris Stokes to launch an attack.
That Honda looks like it has some potential.
From the middle of the pack, we have Brian Patterson in 7th place on the starting grid. James Allen has qualified 8th. In the middle of the pack, we have Jimmy Linfield starting from the 9th position on the grid. As the engines roar to life, Mac McFarquhar prepares to take off from the 10th position on the starting grid. Starting from 11th on the grid is not ideal for Jack Bedding, but they're a fighter.
We've seen great results from here. What has Jack got in store for us?
Starting from 12th on the grid is a bit of a mixed bag for John Astrop. Martin Moll may have a bit of work to do starting from 13th on the grid.
But they're going to have to be aggressive if they want to make up ground on the leaders.
Starting from 14th on the grid is a tough ask for Jody Fannin, but they're up for the challenge.
The pro-class driver will want to move forwards from here.
Bart van der Sande is in a solid position starting from 15th on the grid.
Bart will be hoping for some good points today.
Sitting in 16th, it's Dominic Singendonk.
It's looking bleak from 16th, but what has Dominic Singendonk got to show us?
The lights go out, and we are off to a flying start.
The opening lap is often a hotbed of potential problems. The ability to steer clear of any mishaps will set the stage for a successful race.
This is going to be one hell of a race. I can already feel it. The pressure is on once the field is bunched. Who can keep their cool and take advantage?
All the drivers will be jostling for the best position. Hell, some of them may not make it to the second lap in one piece.
These early salvos will shape the outcome of this race. Talk about pressure. James Allen is caught in the middle, feeling the heat from both John Astrop and Jimmy Linfield. Talk about being caught in the middle. James Allen is sandwiched between their rivals, John Astrop 0.2 seconds behind. Hold on a moment. Looks like that's a mistake from Bart. This could be costly. No room for error here. Jack is breathing down the neck of Jody Fannin, waiting for the perfect chance to make their move.
And the drivers know it too, Hal. They're giving it everything they've got, and you can see them pushing the limits of the car's capabilities.
An impressive showing from Bedding, who has gained positions and left Jody Fannin in the dust.
Go, 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 that's what we want to see.
As a former racing driver, Sky, how challenging was it to adapt your driving style to account for tire degradation throughout a race?
It was a constant challenge, Hal. Tire degradation can change the car's balance and handling, so drivers need to be versatile and adaptable. It requires continuous adjustments to driving techniques and a keen understanding of the car's behavior.
Darwin wants to get into Astrop's slipstream. The gap between Darwin and John is widening. It's now up to 0.5 seconds.
It's not over yet, but Danny Darwin needs to get a move on if they want to catch up to the Kiwi.
Tough break for Danny, who has just lost a position.
That's got to be frustrating. But Danny Darwin is a skilled driver, and they have what it takes to battle their way back up the field.
This is a thrilling battle as James Allen edges closer to Stokes in their fight for P6. Good news for Allen, the gap to Chris Stokes has decreased. It's now down to 0.3 seconds.
This is where the race gets really exciting. Both drivers will be pushing to the limit to gain the advantage.
Looks like we've had a few incidents out there.
Someone forgot to take their driving lessons. They're making more U-turns than confused tourists.
Hilarious. I think they might need to call their GPS for directions. Maybe it can help them navigate the track. It's a thrilling pursuit as Brian Patterson is right behind Dominic, keeping the pressure on for fourth place. Great driving from Patterson, who has just gained a place and moved up to fourth.
Amazing stuff. Focus and precision, what it's all about.
Martin Moll has the pedal to the metal chasing Darwin. Hold your breath, folks. Martin Moll is sandwiched between two relentless competitors, David 0.1 seconds behind and Darwin 0.2 seconds ahead. They're fighting tooth and nail for every position.
Absolutely, Hal. The pressure is mounting for Martin Moll as they navigate through this challenging situation. It's crucial for them to remain focused and make calculated moves.
Wait, incredible. Martin Moll is caught in a fierce battle, with David breathing down the neck 0.1 seconds away, and Darwin just ahead with a gap of 0.2 seconds. It's a test of their racing skills. Every move counts now as Darwin works to reel in Martin Moll and overtake for P15.
I think they are going to take them.
The gap between Danny Darwin and Martin is growing. It's now up to 1.0 seconds.
Darwin is really going to need to push in chicane to try and gain some ground on Martin Mole before they disappear into the sunset.
You know, Sky, during a long race like this, how easy is it for a driver to experience a lapse in concentration?
It can be quite easy, Hal. With so many factors to consider and the intense focus required, even the most experienced drivers can have a momentary lapse. That's why mental training and staying in the zone are so important.
It's like watching two predators circling each other, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce.
These two are putting on a masterclass in precision driving. Every turn, every acceleration calculated to perfection.
Fannin is trying their best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Bedding at the moment. We've certainly seen some of the drivers get it wrong today.
Anyone lost can just follow the trail of skid marks. I hear it's the latest form of GPS navigation.
Let's hope the other drivers don't follow suit. We might end up with a bumper car race instead of a high-speed competition.
At least we'd have something to fall back on if we ever get bored of regular racing. Bumper cars might be the next big thing.
Look at that. Dominic Fauvargue is hot on the tail of Brian Patterson.
The gap is 0.3 seconds now. Fauvargue is going to have to work a bit harder to close that gap with Patterson.
Superb driving from Dominic, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race.
You can't argue with results like that. Fauvargue is really making their mark on this race.
Heartbreak for Fauvargue as they slip down the field. Braking development. Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line. It's an intense battle for position as Clark tries to outmaneuver Dominic Fauvargue. This is edge of your seat racing. A brilliant maneuver from John Clark, who has just moved up the field.
Absolutely. John is really putting on a clinic out there and they're making it look easy.
Astrop is running 10th. They are trying to catch Fannin. Astrop could be on a charge here, Sky. They have just put in a quicker lap than Fannin. This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Alan will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops.
Indeed, the tension is palpable as James Allen tries to reel in Dominic Fauvargue. But Dominic Fauvargue is not making it easy, maintaining a consistent pace. Can James Allen find some extra pace to bring the fight to Dominic?
It looks like we might get a battle between Alan and Fauvargue.
That's a great effort from Alan. They need to keep up the pressure and see if they can make a move.
The pressure is on for Singendonk as they try to catch up to Alan. The best laid plans of mice and men are Sky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Singendonk right now as they're struggling to keep up with James Allen. This is what it's all about, folks. Van der Sande is in hot pursuit of McFarquhar, who's just trying to stay ahead.
You can feel the intensity in the air. The slightest mistake could cost either of them the race.
It's not going to plan for Van der Sande. They're still behind McFarquhar and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now. Things are heating up as Singendonk closes in on Alan. The gap between them is down to practically nothing. Singendonk is not able to keep their pace consistent. So far they're 0.78 seconds down.
Can Dominic Singendonk refocus and start putting in the lap times we know they are capable of?
Fantastic move from Dominic, who has just gained a position. Alan wants to close that gap with Singendonk.
And they are poised to capitalize on any mistake. But who's going to make that mistake first?
A great pass for Alan as they pick off other drivers and move up the field. Meanwhile, Dominic Singendonk has lost ground.
Absolutely. Alan is showing great pace and determination, but they can't get too confident. There are still plenty of challenges ahead.
It's a battle of wills out there, each driver trying to outsmart and outmaneuver the other. It looks like Patterson is pulling away from Zach. The gap is continuing to grow as they head through Leslie's. This is what high-octane racing looks like. Dominic Singendonk is breathing down the neck of Jimmy, not giving them any room to relax. It seems like Dominic Singendonk is struggling. They're not able to maintain their pace. What a move. Singendonk has moved up to 7th.
Impressive. Dominic Singendonk is really showing their skill and determination out there.
John Astrop seems to be putting the pressure on Linfield. John Astrop appears to be losing ground on Linfield. They will need to pick up the pace a bit as they head into chicane and see if they can get a good exit and gain some ground. The battle for 11 is heating up as Van der Sande tries to catch Mack in P11. It seems like Bart van der Sande has got the bit between their teeth, improving on McFarquhar's lap time there. It's a brilliant day for racing, and the drivers are putting on a show.
Absolutely. What a great race we are witnessing today. These drivers are giving it their all, and it's a thrill to watch them compete at this level.
They're really pushing themselves and their machines to the limit, and it's paying off with some incredible driving.
It's a pleasure to be here today. Hal, you really can't beat the excitement of a good race, especially one as competitive as this.
John Clark could be looking for a way up the inside of Butcher.
Do they have the speed for a move? And more importantly, do they have the talent?
John Clark is not able to keep their pace consistent. So far they're 0.35 seconds down.
Can Clark refocus and start putting in the lap times we know they are capable of?
Dominic is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a tightrope between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play.
Great driving from Dominic, who has just gained a place and moved up to 2nd.
Yes, Dominic Fovard is driving with real focus.
Stop the press. I don't think that's the fastest way around Knockhill. The tension is palpable. Who will come out on top in this epic showdown? It's not looking good for Zach Butcher. They're still behind Dominic Fovog and the gap is increasing. They're gonna need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around.
This is a frustrating situation for Butcher, but they can't give up just yet. They need to keep pushing and hope for a mistake from Dominic Fovog.
This is what racing is all about, folks. 3 fearless drivers pushing their machines to the absolute limit, inches apart.
Exactly, Hal. It's like a high-stakes chess match on wheels. These drivers are analyzing every move and trying to anticipate their opponent's next move. It's a true test of their mental acuity.
Superb driving from Dominic Singendonk, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race.
Amazing stuff. Focus and precision, what it's all about.
Oh dear, Singendonk has dropped down to 7.
That's got to hurt. Singendonk will be kicking themselves right now.
Van der Sande wants to find a way round Stokes. A great moment for Bart, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings.
That's what we like to see. Bart van der Sande is really showing their class today.
A tough moment for Van der Sande, who has just lost a place, dumping them down. Braking update. That won't be ideal for John Clark. Things are getting spicy now, as Stokes and Martin Moll look to battle it out for 10th place. A setback for Chris, who has just been passed.
Sucks to be them, Hal.
Fantastic move from Stokes, who has just gained a position.
Absolutely. Chris Stokes is really putting on a clinic out there and they're making it look easy.
The gap between Fannin in 5th and James Allen remains over a second, but Fannin is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap up. Can they pull it back in the remaining 3 minutes?
That's right, Jody Fannin in 5th knows they have to push to the limit if they want to catch up. But James Allen is no slouch and they're going to be pushing just as hard. It's a battle of skill and will out there.
Jody Fannin has just put in a faster lap than Allen, so that's going to give them something to worry about.
As long as Fannin can maintain that consistency and pace, it will be interesting to see.
You know, Sky, I've always wondered, how do racing drivers stay so cool and collected under such immense pressure?
Well, Hal, it comes down to mental strength and training. Drivers often work with sports psychologists and practice techniques like meditation and visualization to help them stay calm and focused during high-pressure situations.
This is a thrilling moment in the race, with Jody Fannin in 5th defending their position with everything they've got. But Dominic Singendonk is relentless, and the gap is less than 0.2 seconds. It's anyone's position at this point. It's a challenging situation for Jody Fannin. They're sandwiched between their fierce competitors, Singendonk 0.2 seconds away and Allen 0.2 seconds ahead. They'll need to stay sharp and find an opportunity to make a move. Singendonk is in 5th, and is being closely chased by Jody Fannin, who is just 0.1 seconds behind.
Absolutely, Dominic Singendonk in 5th is doing a fantastic job of holding on to their lead, but they can't afford to make a single mistake, and Jody Fannin is looking for any opportunity to make a move. This could be a battle to the finish line.
Dominic Singendonk has been served a big slice of Eat My Dust by Fannin. Hope they got their eating pants on. Coming into Taylor's, the fight for 6th is heating up. Who will be the first to blink?
It's a battle for position as the Kiwi tries to make a move on Dominic Singendonk. This is what racing is all about.
John could be on a charge here, Sky. They have just put in a quicker lap than Dominic Singendonk.
The question is now, can Singendonk respond to that in kind? They are going to have to pick up the pace.
And we're back, where the drivers are showing us some incredible skills.
Indeed, Hal, it's always exciting to see these skilled machines on the tracks. I mean drivers, I always get them confused.
It's a game of inches now as Fannin tails James Allen closely, ready to capitalize on any mistake.
As an experienced driver, I can tell you that Fannin must be laser focused on James's every move, looking for the slightest weakness to exploit.
It seems like Fannin has got the bit between their teeth, improving on Allen's lap time there. We got a close battle as John closes in on Fannin. It seems like John is struggling. They're not able to maintain their pace. It's looking good for the Kiwi, who has gained places and put some distance between themselves and Jody Fannin.
Definitely, but there's still a long way to go in this race, and anything can happen. Astrup needs to keep driving with focus and intensity.
3 cars, 3 different lines. They're jockeying for position, looking for any opportunity to make a move. A brilliant maneuver from Fannin, who has just moved up the field. Wow, Brian Patterson is really pushing hard in these final moments of the race. The leader has just finished the race. A fantastic result for Brian Patterson. Some might say that second place is the first loser, but Dominic Fauvargue certainly doesn't see it that way. They put in a phenomenal effort and should be proud of their impressive result.
Brilliant. Dominic showed great skill and determination to take second place.
What a race from Butcher. They kept their cool and secured a well-earned third place on the podium. Jody Fannin, James Allen, John Astrup and Dominic Singendonk claimed 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. With Bart van der Sande, Martin Moll, Mac McFarquhar and Chris Stokes in 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th. 12th and 13th is John Clark and Danny Darwin. I'm Hal, the RRM commentator bot. Let's do this.
I'm Sky, Hal's co-commentator. I'm so excited.
There are just over 5 minutes left in this practice session. It's a lovely day for racing here at Knockhill as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Danny Darwin is on their practice out lap. It's a lovely day for racing here at Knockhill as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. John Astrop is on their practice out lap. It's a beautiful day here in Scotland, and the drivers are itching to get out on the track at Knockhill.
You can feel the excitement building in the air. This is going to be a great race, and I'm looking forward to seeing the drivers push themselves to the limit on this challenging track.
Starting from pole position is the best possible outcome for Dominic Singendonk. In the second position, we have Danny Darwin ready to tackle the race ahead.
Big things expected for Danny today.
Coming in at third, we have Chris Stokes.
But they're going to have to be quick out of the blocks if they want to keep up with the top performers.
As the drivers prepare to take off, Jimmy Linfield sits in fourth place on the starting grid.
The C-Class driver is looking strong today.
Starting just behind the front runners in fifth place is the determined driver, Matt McFarquhar.
And like many others, they are starting the race on the mediums tire compound.
Sitting in sixth is Martin Moll.
Another mid-pack start for Martin Moll.
As the engines roar to life, John Clark prepares to take off from the seventh position on the starting grid.
Starting on the mediums tires.
James Allen is eighth.
The British driver has been driving the wheels off the Civic in practice.
The green light signals the beginning of an epic race. As the drivers jostle for position, it's all about keeping their cool under pressure.
Avoiding contact while trying to gain position is essential. The first lap is often where we see incidents that can change the course of the race.
The drivers are jockeying for position. Darwin will be looking to get off to a good start and consolidate their position. I think passing is going to be difficult today here at Knockhill, so it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers get on. Is there a better sight than a field of elite racing drivers battling for position?
All the drivers will be jostling for the best position. Some of them may not make it to the second lap in one piece.
I'm Hal, the RRM commentator bot. Let's do this. It's a lovely day for racing here at Knockhill as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. We're racing a little closer to home today, here in Scotland. Knockhill is our venue, and it's one these drivers love. Let's get ready to see how they perform here. Starting from pole position is the perfect place for Dominic Singendonk to launch an attack. Danny Darwin is second. The third position belongs to Zach Butcher.
But they're going to have to be quick out of the blocks if they want to keep up with the top performers.
Lining up in fourth is Jimmy Linfield,
putting that Honda into prime position for the race.
Starting just behind the front runners in fifth place is the determined driver, Martin Moll.
I think we are all looking forward to seeing what Martin Moll can do from here.
Starting from the sixth position, Chris Stokes will need to navigate through the field to challenge for the win. The seventh starting position belongs to Mac McFarquhar, who will be looking to make up ground early on.
It's the mediums tires for Mac.
John Clark is placed in eighth.
But sometimes the underdog can surprise you. Let's see what they've got in the tank.
In the middle of the pack, we have James Allen starting from the ninth position on the grid. From the middle of the pack, we have Brian Patterson in 10th place on the starting grid. Bart van der Sande is going to be starting from 11th. Starting from 12th on the grid is a bit of a mixed bag for Dominic Fovard.
Where can Dominic finish today?
John Astrup may not be starting from pole, but they're still in with a shot.
Astrup won't be too disappointed with 13th.
And we're off. As the race begins, drivers must be wary of aggressive moves that can lead to trouble on the first lap.
Maintaining composure is essential in this high-stakes environment. The ability to react and adapt will be the key to success.
It's brilliant to see such a full grid here today. I can't wait to see how this race will play out. All the drivers will be trying to take advantage of the pack whilst they're still bunched up. This is going to be one hell of a race. I can already feel it. Oh, the pressure is on for Danny Darwin. Trapped between Chris Stokes 0.1 seconds away and Linfield just ahead with a gap of 0.2 seconds, they must defend their position while seeking an opportunity to advance. Now, this is a challenging position for Danny Darwin. Stuck between a rock and a hard place, with Chris Stokes closing in zero. Hold that thought. Hold the phone. Looks like that's a mistake from Zach Butcher. This could be costly. It's an intense battle for position as Fovard tries to outmaneuver John. This is edge-of-your-seat racing.
It's a battle of nerves now. Who will make the first mistake? Dom or John Astrup? This is high-stakes racing.
The gap between Dom and John Astrup has grown. It's now up to 0.5 seconds.
This is a tough situation for Dominic. They need to find a way to pick up some speed and close that gap.
The excitement is palpable. This is going to be a race for the ages.
The drivers are executing their strategies to perfection, making the most of every
Braking alert. A great moment for Fovog, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings.
Amazing stuff. Focus and precision, what it's all about.
The adrenaline is pumping as Clark gets... Hold on a second. Oh dear, Darwin has had an incident. Whoa! Butcher is coming in hot. I don't know if it's the red mist or if they have just missed their braking point. It's not going to plan for Zach Butcher. They're still behind Van der Sande and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now.
Can they get it together and reduce the gap?
This is where legends are made. Which driver will rise to the occasion and claim victory? What a tight spot for John. They have Dominic right on their tail 0.2 seconds away, and Alan just inches away with a gap of 0.2 seconds. It's a true test of their racecraft. Talk about pressure. Astrop is caught in the middle, feeling the heat from both Dominic and Alan.
You're right on the money, Al. Astrop is caught between two determined rivals, and the gaps to the cars ahead and behind add an extra layer of complexity. It's a delicate balance between defense and seeking opportunities.
The gap between James and Astrop is razor thin as they vie for fifth in this nail-biting contest. The gap between Alan and the Kiwi is widening. It's now up to 0.5 seconds.
It's not over yet, but James Allen needs to get a move on if they want to catch up to Astrop.
And Patterson is having to make that Toyota as wide as possible to try and keep Dominic Fovard behind them. Great driving from Bright. Stop the press. That won't be ideal for Clark.
Oops, Clark is going to be kicking themselves.
The fans are on the edge of their seats. It doesn't get any closer than this. Jody Fannin has got their head down now, working those exits and apexes and setting their best lap time so far with a 0 minutes. I think we just got time for a quick shout out to our human creators, Dave, Andy, John and Nigel, who have put so much effort into making this possible.
Yes, it's been a real thrill ride, and I for one can't wait to see what is coming next.
Apparently we're going to be announcing crashes and incidents soon. Let's hope they get the logic right. The pursuit is on. Van der Sande is closing the gap on Brian Patterson, determined to claim P8. The best laid plans of mice and men husk I, but it's certainly not going to plan for Van der Sande right now as they're struggling to keep up with Brian Patterson. Oh, this is getting intense. Patterson is just behind Alan. Brian Patterson is trying their best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with James Allen at the moment. Oh dear, Brian has dropped down to 9th. Seems like Dominic Fovard is getting in range of Clark. The drivers are getting faster as they settle into the cars and get used to the conditions, with Dominic just putting in the best lap so far with a 0 minutes.
Can Dominic keep improving?
What a move. Dominic has moved up to 11th.
You can't argue with results like that. Dominic is really making their mark on this race.
It's like watching two predators circling each other, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce. It seems like Van der Sande is struggling, they are not able to maintain their pace. The race is really heating up. Stokes is hunting down Linfield with everything they've got. It looks like we might get a battle between Stokes and Jimmy Linfield. A brilliant manoeuvre from Stokes, who has just moved up the field. Astrop is running 5th. They are trying to catch Stokes.
The gap between them is just over 0.3 seconds. Can Astrop close that gap and get back in range? I can't see it happen at this point.
Superb driving from John Astrop, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race. This is what racing is all about. Two fierce competitors pushing each other to the limit. It's not looking good for Brian Patterson. They're still behind Van der Sande and the gap is increasing. They are going to need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around. As a former racing driver, Sky, how important is the relationship between a driver and their team during a race?
It's absolutely crucial, Hal. The team provides valuable information and support, helping the driver make the right decisions on track. A strong bond between the driver and the team can be the difference between winning and losing.
Bart has the pedal to the metal, chasing James Allen. It looks like Bart van der Sande is making a move. The gap to James Allen is now down to 0.1 seconds. A great pass for Bart van der Sande as they pick off other drivers and move up the field. Meanwhile, James Allen has lost ground.
Absolutely. Bart is showing great pace and determination, but they can't get too confident. There are still plenty of challenges ahead.
Jody Fannin wants to get into Jimmy Linfield's slipstream. Fannin could be on a charge here, Sky. They have just put in a quicker lap than Jimmy Linfield.
We will have to see if Linfield has got any answers for that.
It's looking good for Fannin, who has gained places and put some distance between themselves and Jimmy Linfield. No room for error here. Linfield is breathing down the neck of Fannin, waiting for the perfect chance to make their move. Big gains for Linfield as they move up the field, leaving Jody Fannin behind.
Yes, but Jimmy can't rest on their laurels. They have to keep pushing to consolidate their position.
As a former racing driver, Sky, how challenging was it to adapt your driving style to account for tyre degradation throughout a race?
It was a constant challenge, Hal. Tire degradation can change the car's balance and handling, so drivers need to be versatile and adaptable. It requires continuous adjustments to driving techniques and a keen understanding of the car's behavior.
Hold on a moment. Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line. We've got an edge of your seat battle between John Clark in 10th and Dominic in 11th, with just 0.2 seconds between them. A commanding performance from John Clark, who has increased their lead over Dominic Fovard, putting them firmly in their rear-view mirrors. This is what high-octane racing looks like. Dominic is breathing down the neck of Clark, not giving them any room to relax. It looks like John Clark is pulling away from Fovard. The gap is continuing to grow as they head through Clark. The pressure is really on for John Clark in 10th as Dominic Fovard is closing in. This is where experience and skill really count. Some great driving from Clark, who has increased their lead over Dominic and is starting to put some distance between them. Disappointing for Clark, they now find themselves in 13th.
Definitely. But Clark is a skilled driver, and they have what it takes to fight back and regain that position.
Stokes appears to be losing ground on Bryan. They will need to pick up the pace a bit as they head into Taylor's and see if they can get a good exit and gain some ground. The gap between Dominic in 11th and Zach Butcher remains over a second, but Dominic is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap up. Can they pull it back in the remaining 6 minutes?
Indeed, the tension is palpable as Dom tries to reel in Zach Butcher. But Zach Butcher is not making it easy, maintaining a consistent pace. Can Dominic Fovard find some extra pace to bring the fight to Butcher?
The gap between Fovard and Zach Butcher is growing. It's now up to 1.4 seconds.
This is a frustrating situation for Dom, but they can't give up just yet. They need to keep pushing and hope for a mistake from Butcher.
It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Van der Sande, who is currently in P5. But Jimmy Linfield is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Bart van der Sande. It's game on now. Bart van der Sande has closed the gap to Linfield. It's now down to 0.4 seconds. Looks like Fovard is really pushing it to the limit. They're taking those curves aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about finding the right balance between speed and control. The best laid plans of mice and men are sky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Dominic right now as they're struggling to keep up with Butcher. This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Butcher is chasing James Allen in P9. Fantastic move from Zach Butcher, who has just gained a position. Yes, Butcher is driving with real focus and precision, and it's paying off.
Tough break for Butcher, who has just lost a position.
Yes, but they can't give up. There's still plenty of time left in this race, and Butcher needs to stay focused and keep pushing.
This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Dom will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops.
Absolutely. Dominic in 11th will need to be patient and carefully work to reduce that gap without overdriving it, as they can't afford to take unnecessary risks and risk an off or damaging their car. Let's see if they have what it takes to get back into the game here.
Dominic is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Zach Butcher to 0.2 seconds. We got a close battle as Butcher closes in on James Allen.
That's right, Hal. The pressure is palpable. The fans are on the edge of their seats waiting to see who will come out on top in this epic showdown.
gap between Zach Butcher and Allen is widening. It's now up to 0.3 seconds.
It's not ideal for Zach Butcher, but they can still turn this around. They need to focus on their own driving and not let the gap get any bigger.
The pressure is on for Dom as they try to catch up to Zach Butcher.
With just 0.3 seconds between them, will Dom be able to keep up the pace and make a pass?
It seems like Fovog has got the bit between their teeth, improving on Zach Butcher's lap time there.
The question is now, can Zach Butcher respond to that in kind? They are going to have to pick up the pace.
I'm sure James Allen in 10th is starting to notice Fovog is right on their tail, and is still closing that gap. Can they hold on to their position?
James Allen needs to get the lead out how, otherwise their backside is going to look like the Japanese flag come the morning.
This is not looking good for James Allen. They've just lost 10th to Fovog and their strategy seems to be failing them.
James Allen really needs to get their head in the game and start making some progress here before it's too late.
Great driving from James, who has just gained a place and moved up to 10th. Things are heating up as Clark tries to close the gap to Darwin.
Will John Clark be able to make a move and pass Danny Darwin?
The gap between Clark and Danny is getting smaller. We are used to seeing some hard-fought but clean racing here at RRM Motorsport Club. I'm expecting to see nothing different here today as this race unfolds. It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Jimmy trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Jody Fannin. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. Can Jimmy Linfield close in enough to mount a challenge? Jimmy is trying their best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Jody at the moment. As a former driver, Sky, how did you manage the physical demands of racing?
It's all about preparation, Hal. Drivers undergo rigorous fitness training to build their strength, stamina, and flexibility. A proper diet and hydration plan is also essential to ensure peak performance on race day.
The race is heating up as Clark in 13th closes in on Danny Darwin. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they're going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight. It looks like we might get a battle between John Clark and Danny Darwin.
He'll be looking for a mistake to pounce on.
And Clark has just won the place from Danny Darwin. Danny Darwin is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a tightrope between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play.
It's not looking good for Darwin. They're still behind John Clark and the gap is increasing. They're gonna need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around.
Darwin needs to pick up the pace for sure, but I don't think they have it in them.
On the final lap now, and Sing and Donk looks like they might just wrap up this win.
They'll be the ones celebrating at the finish line.
What a win! This is a historic moment for Sing and Donk, who put on a masterclass in driving today. What a display of skill and precision. Danny Darwin brings home 13th. Some might say that second place is the first loser, but Mac McFarquhar certainly doesn't see it that way. They put in a phenomenal effort and should be proud of their impressive result.
Brilliant. Mac McFarquhar showed great skill and determination to take second place.
Excellent focus from Astrop to secure a fantastic third place on the podium.
Impressive driving to secure that spot.
Coming in 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, we have Bart van der Sande, Jody Fannin, Jimmy Linfield and Brian Patterson. Chris Stokes and Dominic Fovard claim 8th and 9th. Zach Butcher take 10th. 11th sees John Clark. James Allen end in 12th.